Greetings, everyone. Pastor Dion here from Calstone Church, and good to be with you today. We had ourselves one wild winter storm last night, knocked our power out, or at least partially. We had a situation where one light would come on and maybe one plug-in, but didn't have full power until later on today. Spent a fair bit of time digging out from the snow, but that's okay. Got some fresh air because of it, and so look for the good in that. We're going to get back into the attributes of God, and today the attribute that we are going to look at is the attribute that God is foreknowing. And the foreknowledge of God is very similar to his omniscience, or that he is all-knowing, but it's more focused on the future events. And so the foreknowledge is God's knowledge about things that will happen. Past, in our realm, so to speak, past, present, and future tense are all present in the mind of God. And it's because of eternity with him. And so God has infinite knowledge and knows all things in advance. And an interesting thing is the word that is used there in the New Testament does not always mean to know beforehand, but it also can mean to cause to be. And so when we talk about foreknowledge and the foreknowledge of God, it describes his knowledge of future events, including his knowledge of our free choices, because he has given us free will as human beings. And he knows what the future holds. This is his omniscience. He knows what the future holds for us as individuals and worldwide. He knows and sees everything in advance, and his will is carried out because of the plans and the purposes that he has described already or prescribed already. Foreknowledge, the interesting thing on this is that it doesn't just describe the fact that God knows something in advance would happen before it happened, although that is the case, but it's also that he gives consent to that thing to happen in the first place. And one of the things that we kind of struggle with in theology is a misconception that God knew beforehand who would believe in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and then, according to Romans, predestined those individuals for salvation. And I know that even right there, I'm starting to confuse, and I don't want to confuse, but this is one of those things. We have to be careful because of that. It doesn't mean, foreknowledge doesn't mean, Warren Wiersbe says that foreknowledge doesn't suggest that God merely knew ahead of time that we would believe and therefore he chose us, because that would raise the question, who or what made us decide to follow Christ? And it would take our salvation out of God's hands. And so when we look at that, we have to understand that God has planned the redemption of sinners through Jesus Christ. It's his plan, and it was his choice for those he chose. John Piper gives us a bit of a warning. That there is a movement today called open theism, which denies that God has a complete, exhaustive, definite foreknowledge of the entire future. The problem with that understanding is then it would mean that God is not in complete control of absolutely everything. And we have to recognize that he is in control. So the biggest thing that we can take out of the attribute of God, of that God is foreknowing, is that he not only knows in advance, but he purposed in advance what was going to happen, who would follow him, what was going to take place. And I know that means for some people that um, perhaps they would feel that that's unfair. And I can get that from our human standpoint. But God's foreknowledge is much more than just foresight. It's He knows it because he wills it to happen. It's hard for us to understand in our humanity, in our finite minds. It's definitely one of those areas that I struggle with in completely understanding. But what we do have to do is trust no matter what. And I hope that is something that you are doing even today in your life, is trusting God that he knows and he is in complete control of absolutely everything. God bless, and I will talk to you later on. Bye now.